It opens with a lie and it continues down a path of deceit, double-crossing and murder. The Coen brothers' 1996 masterpiece Fargo is in many ways built around two characters. On the one hand, we have this hapless, helpless car salesman Jerry Lundegarrd, played by William H. Macy, who sets the ball rolling on the blood-soaked tale. And on the other hand, we have the brilliant police chief Marge Gundarsson, played by McDormand. We're going to analyse these two characters and the first scene in which we meet each of them. Fargo opens with a lie that it soon gives away, and also a spoiler. This is a true story, we're told, and although it's not, being told that it is actually changes our perception of a film. Then comes the spoiler and the giveaway. Out of respect for the living, the names have been changed. This tells us that over the next 96 minutes some people are going to die. In total it turns out to be 7. But then also there's a bit of a giveaway. Out of respect for the dead, the other events have been told exactly as they occurred. Were this genuinely a true story, they would not be able to make this a claim, and they would not be able to say that these are exact reenactments. We open with the white mist and snow, which will soon turn crimson with blood, and Carter Burwell's haunting score. This gives us a sense of mystery and the unknown, a world that Jerry is soon seen driving into, towing a new tan Sierra behind him. We then see Jerry enter a bar, where he meets two hoodlums, played by Steve Buscemi and Peter Stormare, and he unveils his plan. He wants them to kidnap his wife so his father-in-law will pay the ransom that he can keep half of. But the first thing we see Jerry do is get the timing of the meeting wrong, the very first bumbling mistake. The scheme itself is so absurd that even Carl and Gear don't really understand what it's all about. It's like robbing Peter to pay Paul. It's like they suspect there's something untoward going on that they're not being told about, when in truth, the only thing that makes it so ridiculous is Jerry's helplessness. Jerry hasn't asked for the money from his wealthy father-in-law, citing that even if he did, Wade wouldn't give it to him. What's ridiculous is that he doesn't actually need the money as yet. We later learn that Jerry has a lucrative real estate proposal that could, if it works out, solve his financial issues, and when it looks like it might work out, he tries to call the kidnapping off, and he can't even do that right. Why does he not wait just to see how the real estate scheme works out? In fact, you could probably re-edit Fargo to show Jerry in a slightly different light. Think of the scene where he learns that his real estate proposal isn't going to go through and he has a breakdown while scraping his car. If you then place this scene where he arranges the kidnapping just after that scene, it would show Jerry to be desperate but not quite as helpless as we first see. When the real estate proposal does fall through, what Jerry does discover is that he could still make $75,000 from a finder's fee. This would appear to be enough. The kidnapping plot only stands to make him $40,000. However, we later learn that the full amount that he's asked for from the ransom is $1 million. Jerry is immediately deceiving and lying to Carl and Gear, and this is a common trait with him. He lies to everyone he meets, his wife, his son, his father-in-law, and even at the end when the game is up, when the police come to arrest him, he tells them that he's coming to the front door, and when they go through the door, they discover that he's climbing out of the back window. Yet if you look past the helpless nature of Jerry, his lack of control and his bumbling personality, in the structure of the film he's actually a femme fatale. If you change just 2 of the roles in Fargo, make Jerry's wife a man and make him an attractive female, it all slots into place. However, what the Coen brothers have done is subvert the genre, something they do regularly throughout their career, and they've made their femme fatale a helpless man. Consider Jerry's actions. He places his lover in mortal danger in order to try and extort money from a business associate who he believes has let him down, and this leads to the destruction of 7 people. He himself is never in mortal danger, and although he is captured at the end, he isn't killed. And just consider the scene where Jerry discovers that Jean has been kidnapped. He knew this was going to happen, but he picks up the phone and goes through a range of voices in order to try and convince Wade that the whole thing is genuine. We first meet Marge Gundarsson, played by McDormand, in a scene of placid domesticity with her husband Norm, played by John Carroll Lynch. They get up, have breakfast, and she heads off to work, and this anchors the film in a sense of normality. And in every scene in which we see Norm and Marge together, they're either sitting in bed or eating. We truly see Marge's brilliance in the next scene, itself an anatomy of a crime. The first shot shows her prowler driving into the snow, the same snow that we've seen Jerry driving into earlier on. Marge then meets her fellow officer Lou and asks where everyone else is. He says, "Well, it's cold, Margie." Marge is heavily pregnant and has gotten out of bed early in the morning to go and investigate this triple homicide, while everyone else is using the cold, in a cold climate, as an excuse not to be there. And as Marge goes to work while Lou looks on, we can see how she is perceived. A shrewd, intelligent officer with a remarkable attention to detail. She pieces together exactly what has happened, while at the same time building up both a physical impression of the suspect and a profile of him. Yet she is not a traditional detective in the guise of a Hercule Poirot or Sherlock Holmes, but a female police officer in a world dominated by men. After surveying the original carnage, Marge comes close to throwing up, not because of what she's seen, but due to a bit of morning sickness brought on by her pregnancy. It's a curious note about Marge's pregnancy that is never directly spoken about. She uses her pregnancy to her own advantage when she first meets Jerry, saying she has to sit down due to carrying quite a load, imposing her authority on the situation and making him even more agitated. In this scene, it merely briefly hinders her investigation. Like a true professional and the best person for the job, she merely lets it pass and then focuses her attention back on the other part of the crime scene. There, her sharp mind deciphers that the crime involved two people. Her warmth and humanity as a person shine through when she looks at the frozen corpse of the state trooper. She then correctly concludes that Carl would have waited in the car for Gear to come back, before Lou makes the fairly obvious statement that it would have been cold. With the what, where and how all resolved, all that's left to discover is who and why. Marge then immediately switches back to her role as a wife, telling Lou that she needs to get some night crawlers for her husband Norm. It's an insight into how her mind works. She's always thinking ahead, but she managed to switch between her roles as an expectant mother, a police officer and a wife with effortlessness. The next scene with Marge and Lou in the Prowler again shows Marge's sweet nature and her brilliant mind. Lou reveals that he's looking for a license plate DLR. Marge disagrees and thinks that the car has dealer plates, a small but vital detail that would eventually lead her to Jerry. Any tension about Lou being wrong is then diffused by Marge making a silly joke, her sweet nature shining through from her brilliant mind. Thanks for watching, we hope you enjoyed this Anatomy of a Scene. Do check out our other Anatomy of a Scenes as well as the other videos on the Outward Film Network YouTube channel.